For some companies, rebranding is necessary for survival. And sometimes it's something as simple as a change to the logo or the dropping of or adding of a word or a name. Knowing when to rebrand can be tricky. And of course, how to do it is sometimes a slippery slope. Sometimes a rebrand can blow up in your face if anyone can remember what it was like for Gap. Today, we are going to discuss rebranding, why you should do it, when you should consider it, and how you should go about it. You'll notice that for season 5, which is so exciting that we're in season 5, we're bringing a little bit of our old formatting back and sprinkling in a little of our new formatting as well. We've gotten some great feedback and hope with season 5, we'll continue capturing your attention and captivating you, but most of all, teaching you more about the business behind small business. And without further ado, welcome to our show, The Business Behind Small Business. I feel like a band ought to be playing behind me. Or I don't know. In every episode, we will dive into an area of what you need to build a lasting business. We'll start our show by peeking behind the curtains of someone else's success and then drill down to how you can apply it to your own business. We are your hosts, Savannah Stone, and
Tiffany KO.
no one gets to a million without getting a little dirty. There's a lot of business behind small business, so let's get to it. Yeah. So
Okay.
I know. Yeah. So can you believe we're in season 5? Isn't this crazy?
The 100 episode will be around the corner at some point. It might be this year. I think we're probably gonna, which
Yippity
is
yikes.
insanity. I feel like being that we kind of started this on I don't know, it wasn't a joke, but it wasn't like it certainly was not something we were like, yeah, let's keep doing this 5 years later.
No, the
That was not
crazy
in the
part is
original plan.
we still like each other.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, but the funniest part of this, I think, is that we've grown a lot as individuals and as businesses and learned a lot about ourselves and about each other, and also have not yet, I mean, knock on wood, run out of things to talk about because there are so many sides and perspectives to businesses that I feel like people still need to know about. Problems may sometimes be the same for people. They echo one another over the years, but I feel like the ways in which you can grapple those or tackle those issues changes with the times.
Yeah, I think, I didn't appreciate or realize until of late, like how unique our experiences are in a sense that because of what we do, we see businesses on their most intimate side and we see it through a lot of businesses. I mean, how many client companies have you worked with so far? It has to be in the hundreds at least by now.
Mhm.
And same
Mhm.
here. And so the patterns and things we see, like I realized like what a unique perspective that is only because there's so many business owners who they run the same business their entire lives. That's it. Like that's their one business. And sometimes it's nice to have a perspective where you pull your head up and you go, huh, I wonder what everybody else is doing. And is this normal?
Yep. Yep. And, the reason why we're talking about this topic, I think, is because you went through a rebranding before you sold your
Hmm.
business. And I remember you brainstorming and you shared some of that with me. And to be honest, because I've gotten back into networking again, like I didn't network for a while, mainly because I didn't have to. And then like the world went back to normal and I was like, oh crap, I got to get back out there again. And so I'm talking to a new group of people that is didn't think was going to be so different to pre 2020. Like they're so
Hmm.
different. People are so different now. So when I tell people that my company is versatile, they're like, should consider changing that name because you sound like a telecom company or you sound like a this, that, or the other kind of company. Or they're like, oh, well, where's the remote at? And I'm like, well, the tel used to mean when I named my company used to mean teleworking. And now they call it remote. So, but versa
What do
rem,
you
you
guys
have
call yourself? Verso
right? Like I'm like
Versa.
Versaren doesn't have the same ring, or Versamote doesn't sound right. So that's been kind of like, oh, well, maybe I should change my name. But should I change my name? I don't know. It's done me well up to this point. And I got to thinking, like, I can't be the only client. I can't be the only person who's gone through that or wondered, should the name of my company be this instead? Or another thing that I've thought about, which I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought about this, if my kids who are not kids anymore are thinking about taking over the family business, should it be named after the family? I don't know. What's the pro to that? What's the con to that? I don't know.
Yeah, I
So
mean, is there a right or wrong to any of it?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to talk about, especially I think when you're not even thinking about selling your business or you're not even thinking about changing your business, because it's something that you ought to be thinking about or talking about when your business is doing well. Because otherwise you make rash decisions. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I've always been against, not against. I guess I'm not against it, but though I see the rationale behind it. The one of the stickler I had when I first started the business is, I wanted to do something that was a little impersonal. So I picked an impersonal name, but then my mistake was the name I had chosen, which sounded great for certain types of company, really didn't sound that great when you're talking about, larger companies with multi-million dollars, right? The first company name was Cat and Beans. So cute, so cheeky, but not something you want to stand in front of a boardroom with. And so that was part of the reason behind the rebranding. Even though I did get a lot of my existing clientele going, "Oh my gosh, we love that name! Like it's so catchy." And I'm like, "Yeah, but maybe a little too cutesy, right? Just a
Yeah.
little much for it." So who knows? I could always bring the name back for something else, I suppose. But surprisingly
I've
enough, a
heard,
lot of people remember the name before they remember my name.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
There is something to having a very catchy name so that people remember what you did.
Absolutely. There's one that and we'll get into this a little bit more, but there was one that I don't want to say the name because I don't want to put this person out there, but their name makes me think of Pets, the name of the accounting firm, and it's got like animal name in it, like pet animal name in it. And I'm like, how'd you come up with that?
Was that somebody's last name?
She No, she had the intention of working exclusively with veterinarians. And then she didn't. And then
Interesting.
she didn't. And I was like, well, now that you don't, do you think you ought to change the name? Because you sound more like a rescue firm than an accounting firm.
That's
So,
so well. So I know that like for accounting and legal firms, depending what type of like accounting and stuff you do, you have to be like a personal corp, and then part of your personal corp is your partners have to be
yeah.
part of your name, right? So super boring, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then otherwise, if you have a lot of leeway and creativity, yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So I was like, I wouldn't put the two together.
I think it's, the name is, how would you say, like, you want it memorable, really, at the end of the day, right? Or you also got to consider, like, is it searchable in a sense,
Can you
right?
spell it? Can a person
Can
spell
you
it?
spell it? Yeah, so we've gotten that before where you come up with a name and then you realize you buy your domain, everything sounds great until you're on the phone trying to spell out what your email is to somebody and you realize, oh my gosh, this is so long and so complicated. Like, why did I do this? Right? So,
Which is exactly what I go through on a daily basis. Yes, I agree.
yes, yes. Now, all of us can't be, man, I always think about that meme I've seen before where like, everybody talks about SEO and you want to be searchable and then you want to come up as ranking first and all this, yada, 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 keywords and stuff like that. And people may have seen a meme where it's like a shot of like the Thai restaurant, the front of the Thai restaurant. And the name of the restaurant in front of the Thai restaurant is best Thai food here, right? Like it's super blatant. Like you know what you're gonna get, you know where you're gonna get it, and it's amazing for keyword searches
Yeah.
on Google. But I mean, there's something to be said about having a name that can bring up exactly what you do in the name itself. So
Mhm. Well, speaking of names,
mhm.
I'm going to take us down memory lane. Not our memories, I guess history's memory. Uh,
Okay, not
we're going to
ours.
go. Yeah, not ours. History's memory lane to share a little bit of what we're talking about here and dive into a historical reference to tie what we're going to be talking about a little bit more to a company you might already be familiar with. There was a gentleman named Caleb Bradham who lived between 1867 and 1934. He was an American pharmacist and businessman. He invented Pepsi-Cola. He was born in Chinkapin, North Carolina, and he went to the University of Maryland School of Medicine, returned home due to family finances before graduating. So he didn't graduate, but he did get a pharmacy license and he opened up a drugstore in New Bern, North Carolina. During this time, at his drugstore soda fountain, he started experimenting with beverages. And in 1893, he created Brad's Drink from cola with a K, cola nut extract, vanilla, and other ingredients, and marketed as a digestive aid. Now, the cola nut was kind of all the rage at the time, like coconut water becomes all the rage, and then matcha tea becomes all the rage, and like we get whatever it is that we get that becomes all the rage. Well, cola nut was all the rage at the time, which is why Coca-Cola had already been being marketed out as a digestive and all these other medicinal ways in which it can affect you. However, he thought that it could be marketed as a for digestive reasons. So he named it Pepsi-Cola, combining the words dyspepsia for indigestion and cola. Adams Pepsi-Cola Company expanded through bottling franchises. And at the time, he was also the president of the People's Bank of New Bern. And he was the chairman of the Craven County Board of Commissioners. He was a 25-year Naval Reserve officer, and he retired as a rear admiral. So although Pepsi was taking off, it wasn't his number one focus. He even was pushed, however way you want to look at it, to be involved to be considered as governor. He was very, very well liked in the area, and especially due to what Pepsi-Cola had done for his community in New Bern. However, during World War I, there was sugar rationing. There was a massive, massive sugar rationing, and this posed significant challenges. Unfortunately, Coca-Cola beat him to the punch by securing sugar agreements with, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was Cuba. Regardless, Coca-Cola got their sugar the way that could save their company. He was unable to. These high sugar prices after the war and Bradham's large purchases of the sugar at those prices led to the company's bankruptcy in 1923. He did, during the bankruptcy, sell the Pepsi-Cola trademark to Craven Holding Company for $30,000. He returned to his drugstore and worked as a pharmacist until his death in 1934. Despite the bankruptcy, Pepsi-Cola had become a global brand, and Bradham had initially expanded by selling bottle rights to create a franchise network so he could sell the bottles, them being glass at the time. The financial strain from the fluctuating sugar market obviously led to his demise. So when the Craven Holding Company had it, the Pepsi trademark got bought by a Wall Street broker named Roy McGargle for $35,000. So it really only went up by $5,000 because of a second bankruptcy, 1931, due to the Great Depression. So Pepsi went bankrupt twice.
Bad
And
timing.
total bad timing. And it's crazy that Pepsi-Cola survived this based on being sold. It's only survived by being bought and sold. So anyway, in 1931, the Loft Candy Company acquired Pepsi-Cola. And under Charles Guth's leadership, Pepsi-Cola was reformulated. And then it was relaunched with a twice as much for a nickel strategy, their marketing strategy, and a catchy jingle. This gained significant market shares, and then it became a major beverage brand. Bradham's or rather 1898 rebranding from Brad's drink to Pepsi-Cola was crucial for establishing the brand. Pepsi was inspired by dyspepsia, reflecting its intended digestive benefits, while cola indicated its flavor. This name aimed to differentiate it and present it as both refreshing and health conscious. The new name and marketing helped Pepsi Cola gain popularity in the 1900s up till 1961, where the name was then shortened to Pepsi to streamline the brand image. Also, it wasn't being made with cola anymore. The Pepsi Cola name created a distinct identity, offering a health conscious image and laid the foundation for the company's growth and recognition. From there, I didn't want to really go into it, but the Pepsi company, it went from Pepsi Cola to becoming also the Pepsi company. That's when they started buying Dasani water, and the Pepsi story is a really phenomenal one. If you get the opportunity to listen to the podcast Business Wars, they have a great one based on Pepsi and Coca-Cola. You should listen to it. It's one of my favorites.
Interesting. Pepsi.
Yeah, Pepsi.
So so it started as a digestive?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Is it still a digestive?
I would say no.
Probably not.
I would say no. But that's kind of like, like Coca-Cola was a combination of cocaine and the cola nut.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you
Yeah.
imagine drinking that? And then
And people did?
they took the coca out of it and named it Coke. But like the whole rebranding has not worked out for everybody. Speaking of Coke, like New Coke. Oh my God, that was horrible.
That was terrible.
Horrible. So sometimes rebranding doesn't always work. And two companies in our day, if we're going to talk, 21st century problems, Facebook to Meta and Twitter to X. Like, who calls it Meta? I don't call it Meta. I don't call it X. I call it Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
But that was how by them changing their names, they were letting us know that their brands were expanding in other areas, and that the Twitter as you knew it or the Facebook as you knew it might still exist, but it also exists at this different level, just the same as Pepsi-Cola did with the rebranding of their name.
Well, it's very much similar to like if you had to change your name one day, right?
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
like you've heard of people who says, they give themselves a different name so they can turn on their alter ego.
Right.
All right. So it's the same feel to it though. It is an announcement to the world that, you are not so and so anymore. You're not this new thing. Although with the whole X
Mhm,
thing, I think people were just kind of tripping over themselves of how to, get around saying, oh, I sent out a tweet because
mhm.
it just doesn't have the ring to it when you say I sent out an X. Or what do people
I
say?
don't even know what you would say. Like, what
I
do
don't
you
know.
say?
What do you say? Like, how do you say or is it just now, hey, I posted something on X? Maybe that's what it is. It just becomes that. The
That's
tweeting thing
just
was pretty
weird.
interesting.
But like, it's not like, can we be Meta friends instead of can we be Facebook friends? Like, that's weird. I have no idea. I'm not on Twitter or Facebook anymore, so I have no idea how people talk. But like, it's bizarre because it's not something that we're used to. But then again, it's kind of like the same thing with when they constantly are renaming stadiums. Like,
Oh,
right, right. In our backyard, there's Eagle Bank Arena that is still to me the Patriot Center. It will always be Patriot to me. I can't
yeah.
call it anything else. So
It's
I don't
also
know.
confusion when they like rename like airports.
Yes,
Although I think that's a little bit more political than branding than anything else. But hey,
I know,
hey,
but
hey,
eh,
hey. But
all
you are
right.
trying to make a statement when you are branding yourself, right? But there is a lot of power behind rebranding. The only thing I could say from personal experience is that ain't cheap.
Yeah, yeah. And let's start with the why. Why rebrand? So, what led you, for example, what led you to rebrand? What made you think to?
I wanted to appeal to a different clientele. So before I rebranded, I worked a lot and attracted a lot. Not to say that there's anything bad with it, was that I attracted a lot of businesses that were under a million. But the services I was offering and the way we had structured ourselves and my vision for the business at the end of the day, we had such a system and process for doing things that it only made sense if you were over a million, likely between the 5 and 10 million. And so to enter that market, I needed a name that can actually take me into that market as well, and people would be appealed by it. And so that's the reason why I rebranded. which is also a great reason, right? For most people, is maybe you started your business as something, maybe you wanted to appeal to pets and vegetarians, and then you realize that, hey, maybe that's not where I want to be. So you want to rebrand because you don't want people to think and conjure the wrong image or the wrong profile, the wrong
Right.
personality about your business when they think of your name. So offering new business, maybe shifting your focus, entering new markets. These are all very popular and common reasons to rebrand yourself.
Uh-huh.
Now, it could also be the fact that you've outgrown your brand, outdated brand if you are so lucky enough to be in business for a very long time, or you just happen to go through, economic shifts or just shifts in your environment as, just per the usual, if things change. Sometimes your brand might be outdated and you need to kind of bring that up to date if you hope to kind of attract more clients in the future to keep growing your business.
Which is kind of where I feel like I might be. But it's kind of scary to rename a company that has been around for a long time. Like, are people going to be okay with that name change?
Or you may set yourself free because maybe that name wasn't actually doing you any favors,
Yeah, that's possible. That's quite
right?
possible. But I mean, I'm pretty sure it was you that kept telling me that the name was like old, but like old and dusty. Yes.
No, no,
You
no.
might not have said old and dusty, but I certainly heard it
I'm
that
pretty
way.
sure I would never use that.
I would. So, yeah, and I think you're right. So when your offerings or if your products or your services are not matching the name anymore, I would say yes, it's probably time. Or even if your brand image, like I think it was in 2020 when I changed my logo because I felt like at the time it used to be a blue V and it was like one shade of blue and then another shade of blue. And it had like this, like, it looked like a planet moon going around it. And I loved it at the time. But like 10 years later, I was like, man, it doesn't really reflect who I am anymore. So when I was looking at all these different logos, I remember sending it. I feel like I sent it to you and I sent it to a couple of other people. And when I got back the feedback of, oh my gosh, this is such a powerful, it looks like Wonder Woman. It's so like powerful. I was like, all right, this is the one I'm going to go with because I wanted to convey power. I wanted to convey a boom, we're here, and a sophistication, a level of sophistication that I didn't have with my other logo. So, um,
Yeah. I'm trying to think back. I kind of don't remember what your old logo looks like anymore 'cause I'm so used to the new one.
uh-huh,
But it does, so like, I mean, with branding, it's like all of the things. It's like the logo and it's the colors, and then it's also like the messaging and the tone, right? It's like personality of your company. Like, have you
uh-huh,
ever met somebody where like you met them and then you heard what their name is and you're like, you
uh-huh,
don't really look like a, you know, Victoria
whatever.
or something,
Yeah.
right? Like, and then you're like, oh, that's really weird. Like, I'm trying to like make this work, but your personality just it doesn't. It's like the same thing with your company. Like, you don't want somebody
Mhm,
to feel like that when they like hear the name and then they meet you and they're kind of like, sounds like you're having an identity crisis. We want to fix
mhm,
that.
mhm,
So it's very similar to that. Plus, it does make life a lot easier. I think when I went through the rebrand and really went through all the steps and understanding why it's important to have a brand tone, a brand color, the logo right, and everything congruent,
mhm,
because it just makes marketing so much easier. You know what tone to speak with, you know who you're like, aiming for, and what you want is your message to actually speak to the clientele you're trying to attract. And it just kind of clicks all the pieces in together.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It gives you a more tangible image of what your company or who your company is. And so much of it is who you are, but a lot of it is also the culture that you've created inside of your company. And sometimes the culture that you've created inside of your company is not the same as it was when you first started out. So, oftentimes people start out with themselves and 5, 10 employees maybe. And at this point, if you've grown to 100 employees and your company is all over the place, you're huge, maybe you're franchised out, whatever it is, you don't have to be that big, but I'm saying you've gotten to a place where it doesn't fit anymore. And also another part of that is if your business is struggling and you're not getting new customers or you're having a hard time retaining existing ones, maybe a rebrand can revitalize your imaging.
Or you get a
There
bunch of wrong ones, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or, I mean, so that's what you were saying before, is that the name of your business before was attracting or was more attractive to smaller businesses that maybe you didn't
Hmm.
necessarily want to be
Yeah,
to work with. But when you changed the name of the company, it began to elicit a different type of client, which is what you wanted.
very much so. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So if your business's name right now is attractive to the kind of client that you don't want to work with anymore, you might want to find a name that reflects the kind of client you do want to work with, because the name of your company is going to be what's going to bring them to the door.
Yeah, I mean,
And
very
same,
much don't get confused that branding is really all about marketing.
right, right.
Yeah, so it's all about marketing. So as long as it brings the right customers through the door, then you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. So in saying that, now to me the question is, okay, so when you're rebranding, when should you be rebranding? Like, when is a good time to rebrand? For you, I feel like you started considering
Mm.
the rebrand when you were preparing for sale.
So you're absolutely right. I did start considering rebranding when I really holistically thought about my company and what my vision for the business was. And so when my vision was clear that I wanted to build a company to sell, I quickly had to kind of reverse engineer that to figure out, well, what kind of company would sell? Like, who would buy me? What kind of company would they be attracted to? And that kind of led to the whole rebranding. But to be quite honest, like any business should have clarity as to who their company are, what is their ideal customer profile, what is the unique stuff that they offer, bring to the table, why would people buy from you? Like you have to be really clear about that. And then your brand is like an accumulation of that and represents that to the world on your behalf. Kind of going through that exercise by default helped me clarify all of that as well. So actually, rebranding is not a bad idea. You probably should think about it, or at least do a brand audit every once in a while. It kind of gives you some insight. But like I said, I mean, it is not a cheap endeavor. It never really is a cheap endeavor. So just gotta
No,
keep that in
because
mind.
right, because I mean, think about all the things that you have to change, all the things that you have to change to the new name. And with that change in name, you also will start to convey a new kind of culture, a new kind of client, a new kind of employee, a new kind of everything. You might lose some people, and then you might gain some people. I think a good time, personally, I think a good time is not just when you're, prepping for sale, or that when you're thinking about selling your company. I also think it's a good idea if you're getting ready to launch a new product or a new
Hmm.
service, or if your company has decided to go in a different direction, or you're going to add a new direction to your company, a new, not just a service, but like a whole department to your company. It might be a good idea to do that. Or if you are thinking about enterprising your company, I'll just use us as an example. If we were doing workshops and classes, and then we were doing media, and then we were doing, all these other things, then we wouldn't just be the business behind small business. Then we become BBSB holding company, or BBSB enterprises, or whatever name it is that we would come up with. That's another reason why you might want to rebrand, so that you can convey that we're not just doing this, we're doing all these other things as well, and have all these subsidiaries underneath your company. It's a growth measurement as well.
Yeah, it's what you want people to think of when they think of your name, and you are absolutely right. When you rebrand, especially if you're shifting to a new market,
Uh-huh.
you do the expensive part of it is the time, the effort, and then in some more dramatic rebrandings like mine, for me turning over half the client list. I mean, it took me like 2 years,
Uh-huh.
by the way, and from beginning to finish, but half my
Uh-huh.
client list, and then eventually turning over 100% of my staff because my staff didn't speak to the ideal clientele that I now have because I didn't know to hire for that because I just realized this like 3 or 4 years in that this is the direction I want to go. So yeah, absolutely, like there's a lot to it, but that's why I think it's also important that for people who are starting out, think about the brand a little harder and try to keep your brand as open to opportunities as possible. Like don't knit yourself in really really early on. Try to do something that you can expand upon should you wish to, right? So we did business behind small business for this one, right? It's a great name. It's a great brand only because, well, we may have to change our logo at some point if we get out of the whole podcasting thing or add on to it, right? Because we have such a big
Right.
mic. But foundationally, if we always stick with our podcast, there's no reason why we can't keep the logo and BBSB. And then, like you said, we could be BBSB workshops, BBSB roundtables, BBSB, all of these things. And it works. And that's why I think when we picked the name, and maybe that was just by happy chance or just maybe like embedded intuition, we were like, yeah, this name works because we can expand. And that's how I choose the names for all my companies and my colors and my logos, to have the biggest opportunities or ways to pivot without having to undergo like an entire like rebrand to the whole thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, because
yeah.
when I first named my company, it was because I did have a versatile list of services. So we were Versa for versatile and Tel for what used to be called telework is now called remote. So Versatel made sense at the time because we were doing accounting or we were doing bookkeeping, we were doing admin, and we were doing social media. They were not connected to one another, but they were versatile services.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've streamlined into only offering bookkeeping and accounting and all the things that go along with it, we're not versatile in that sense anymore. And the tell part doesn't make sense to today's people anymore. Like people are like, tell as in what? Tell. What does tell mean? Like telecom? Like what is tell? So,
Telework, that's a word.
right. Like we all did grow up in the same age, did we not? Like you were here in 2010, were you not? But no, like, so, it's just not a word that makes sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If you've owned your company for a while and it's just that world doesn't exist anymore. So maybe it's time to, I'm talking myself into this, aren't I? By the end of
Yep,
this,
you totally am. We're gonna have a new name for you.
I don't want to do it.
But
I
I
do,
mean,
but
okay. So also going back to it, like it's better, it's easier to start from scratch. That's why rebrandings are expensive, like you said. You got to rebrand your domain, you got to rebrand like your emails, you got to rebrand everything that had your logo, including your website and whatever print things you may have and stuff like that, and the people and all. So it's much better that you just keep yourself fairly loose and open in the beginning,
yeah.
and just kind of start somewhere that's a little bit more bland's not the right word, but just a little
Generic?
bit more open. Generic's the right word. There you go. Generic.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Generic is good. Generic is very good. There are
Because you can
definitely
do a
things.
lot with generic.
Yeah. 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 You can definitely be much more flexible that way. All right. So now that we've discussed the how and the when, or rather the why and the when, let's talk about the how. So where did you start? Where did you begin?
I know. I'm like conjuring up all those memories and now also thinking of all the dollar signs it cost me. And the hardest 2 years of my business, the hands down, emotionally, physically, mentally, all of the things. So where I started is, where I started honestly was really getting a clear understanding of who I'm trying to speak to, what am I doing, what's my end goal, and from that begin to feel out what the new identity is. So then I had an idea of, okay, what do I need to change? How much change is required? Now, for me, it was like almost a 180, which again,
Yeah.
highly not recommended if you don't go down that road, right? But as soon as you know that, at least you have a pretty good idea. It's like, oh, this is going to take quite a bit of effort. And then you can figure out who you're going to pull in, right? Now, if you're a little bit less clear as to any of those things, I would highly suggest that you talk to somebody about it. Maybe a marketing specialist or maybe a branding specialist, rather. Probably a branding strategist would be a better person to speak to. Actually, yeah, I take that back. Don't talk to your marketing agency about this. No offense to all the marketing agencies out there, right? But let's admit it, right? Marketing your niche, there's things you're good at, just like every other professional services. Marketing agencies have what they're good at, and brand strategy and brand building isn't always what they're good at because it's the strategy. They're probably good at executing the brand once you have it, but to help you develop one, you may end up just spending a lot of money running around in circles. So yeah, I would say just get a really clear brand strategy and then have somebody, once you have the brand strategy and the brand identity, like have somebody to come in and help you do the brand audit in a sense, right? So, okay, now I know where I want to be. Somebody come in and tell me quite literally how big is this gap and what all needs to happen for me to get from A to Z.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I agree with you
And
with the whole brand strategist. I agree with you with the whole
mhm,
brand strategist because you are talking about rebranding. So you need to be talking, you're not talking about remarketing, you're talking about rebranding. So you need to speak to someone who works exclusively in branding.
yeah. And somebody who understands how the brand kind of perpetuates into all the different parts of your business. And there may be corners of your business you haven't even thought of that your brand will actually affect. So it's good that you understand it, especially if you're not a one person shop. If you have employees, like you have to be considerate because you're also telling your employees to go along with the change. And sometimes that's easier than not. And if you're going into a new offering, and especially if you're going into a new market, and that market is maybe substantially different than your existing market, then you're talking about retraining your employees. You're talking about, teaching them a new way of how they speak to the customers. Maybe there's new processes in your business. Like this all kind of comes along with the rebrand that is a lot deeper than what most people think. It's not just logo
Mhm.
and colors at the end of the day. Speaking of like employees, not only employees, but to client, you also want to have an idea of how you want to roll this out to everybody. You don't want to give people whiplash. Today you're this, and then tomorrow you're completely something else, right? With a new
Right.
tone, new attitude, and everything. You're going to give your existing clientele whiplash. So you also got to figure out, hey, what is the best way for me to warm up our clients and our employees for them to basically get buy-in on this and support you into the new rebrand. Now,
Uh-huh.
aside from feedback, which was, from my existing clients that were like, "Oh, I really liked your like name," it didn't really bother them too much, to be quite honest, that they had to go by a different name. They just kind of stumbled over it and then probably forgot how to like address the company every once in a while. But it wasn't that dramatic. But internally, there was a lot of drama because, like I said, I had to turn over our employees, hire new employees, put in new processes. So that was definitely more dramatic and
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. With employees, it can get a little sketchy is not the right word, but yeah.
anxiety inducing, especially if you're one of those companies, which I've met a lot of companies like this where, your company's been around for double digit years and you have
Hmm.
employees who's been around for double digit years. So you changing the script on them, you'll find out really quickly who is not going to go along with it, right? Like there are some people who just don't like change, and if they've been with you for double digit years, it is somewhat you can kind of understand why they might be like, "Whoa, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, this isn't the company that I came to work for." Well, dude, it's been like 20 years.
Right. It's funny because
Something's got to change and grow.
right. We just finished watching all nine season.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it took a
how long
while.
did that take you?
It took a minute. It took a minute. But I don't I just thought it was funny because they changed the name of the law firm so many flipping times that like the last episode I think it was, they were like,
Hmm.
we need to put a rule in here that we will not change the name for 5 years because my gosh, this is exhausting. The amount of times they changed the name of the law firm. And I'm over
Yeah.
here like, do they put a new wall up every time? Like, imagine how many holes are on this. How many times a person's name out, one in, two in, four out, three in, two out.
Well, it's
So
funny because that goes back to the whole law thing where by law to be incorporated like for the law firm, they have to put the managing partner's name in the name, right? And then that
yeah,
they kept changing their managing partners.
like I wouldn't know who to call. I don't know what law firm to call because I don't know what their name is now. But it's funny because that kind of resonates with what we're talking about. Like whatever name it is that you're going to select and whatever brand it is that you're going to select, you got to stick with that for a minute. Like don't go with it and then be like a couple years later, we've decided we're going to change our name again. Because
True.
I've
It is a little bit
known
high
it.
risk.
Yes, I've known a couple of companies that did that changed their name 3 times within a few years. And I don't know how well they did with that, but I would get an email and I'm like, you're changing your name again? Why are you changing your name again?
Yeah, that really is what you call an identity crisis
Yeah. Yeah.
at that
So
point.
whatever it is that you definitely want to monitor and measure your results by tracking the impact of your rebrand on what your brand awareness is and then how well your company is performing after the name change, before the name change, after the name change, customer engagement, and definitely don't want to take them by surprise. You want to make sure that they know what they're getting long before you actually do it.
Hmm.
especially if you plan on being in business for a while. Some companies have made minor shifts, like say Pepsi-Cola went from Pepsi-Cola to Pepsi, and I believe Post went to General Foods.
Mm.
So some companies totally changed the name and some of them just made a small change. But whatever it is that you think you need to do, definitely spend a lot of time on it. I feel like I spent almost a year on just naming my company the first time. So I need to make sure that whatever name I'm going to choose for the second iteration of my company has to resonate with me just as much as the first one did.
Yeah. It's also nice too, because when you rebrand, I feel like sometimes you're basically announcing to the world, hey, I'm keeping up with the times,
Yes.
right? We're keeping up with the times, we're changing, we're growing, and that's a good thing in these days. Like there's no way as a company, well, I wouldn't say there's no way. I would say it's incredibly challenging as a company to stay static for years upon years and not have it impact your business. At some point, something will impact it. And it
Uh-huh.
has to do with the fact that you haven't grown and yet the world has moved on.
Right. Right. So I think whatever decision you make is going to be a great one because we support you. And in saying that, there's a saying that goes, put your money where your mouth is. And we're drilling down, or we're going to drill down a bit further here to connect what we've discussed at a granular level to tangible sources that you can take to get you to that next level. So, Tiffany, what you got for us?
Well, funny enough, I actually read this first book. That's good. I do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Donald, actually, I think I've mentioned it before too. Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand. Great book. It's a few years old now, but I think it's still pretty relevant about clarifying what your brand message is
Uh-huh.
to attract customers and kind of grow your business. Another book is Alina Wheeler's Designing Brand Identity. So very similar. It's kind of, how do you go through your brand identity process, how to research it and the strategy to kind of design and implement. A couple of apps to recommend. Luca, which is a AI powered platform to help you create logos and brand identities. I'm pretty sure they still have people at Fiverr who does this. I tapped Fiverr a few times a couple of years ago just to kind of create my own brand, but the AI generated ones these days are just as good. And to be quite honest, even a good name you want to go with, just go with it. Like we
I
said,
use,
start with something generic so you can just start. Do not
Mhm.
spend your first 3 months on trying to figure out what your brand colors are.
Right. I used Looka and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
it's pretty good these days. So
Mhm.
I would say those kind of things help accelerate business building. Basically, right now, if you've been an established business, would I say use the AI powered platform to figure out your next move? But if you are a newer business or a smaller business who kind of wants to make a pivot themselves and you think it's just a change or splash of color, just like a new haircut would help you. Luca, it's like those kind of AI things are a great alternative.
I agree.
Adobe Express, of course, I think a lot of people heard of that. That's, still pretty much in play as far as designing new logos and colors and graphics for your website if you're so bold enough to build your own website.
Yeah, that
Other
ain't.
resources to consider. So I will say though, I've used Wix and Wix templates to basically build all my websites myself.
Mm.
Do I recommend it? Depends on who you are. Would I ever do it for anybody else? Oh, heck no. That thing is so tedious. If I wasn't just cheap with a lot of like time on my hands, I would never recommend somebody else to do it themselves. So, hey, a shout out to all the website builders out there, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. There's also, of course, branding agencies, right? Like we were saying, find a branding strategist, find branding agencies if that is your deal as well. There are people who specialize in rebranding. Like we said, like just because somebody's in marketing doesn't mean that they know all of this. Rebranding is a very specific skill set and it's much more pervasive about your business than you think. So it's good to kind of get somebody who's done it before and knows what it all means. And
Uh-huh.
then last but not least is like online communities and forums. There are forums and communities dedicated to branding and marketing. So maybe if you're having a little trouble finding somebody in your network that you think will be good about this, that those are great places to go scout out some new partners.
Yeah, I agree. I lean on Reddit a considerable amount when I am toying with an idea or am noodling on an issue. And at least the people that I come across have great advice. So those
Excellent.
are great options. All right. So my recommendations are a brand book named Brand Thinking and Other Noble Pursuits by Debbie Millman, which explores the power of branding and it offers practical advice on how to build a successful brand. So if you are journeying into the world and exploring the world of how to build a successful brand, I think this is a great book for you. As far as apps go, Canva is and always will be one of my favorites. The user-friendly design platform allows you to create a wide range of marketing materials, and
Brilliant.
you can do a brand kit and have your own brand fonts and brand
Yeah.
all brand
Gosh.
stuff, whatever brand
That
thing you want, and
yeah.
streamline everything.
Love that platform, use it all the time. It pulls
Yep,
together every print because again, that brand kit is so key. Like, you never have to re-choose your colors over and over again, and everything can
exactly.
just be, yeah, so much easier.
Uh-huh. I used Canva to create once I had my new logo, the brand kit created itself, which was awesome. And I streamlined everything through it. And
Mhm.
I am so in love with the color combinations that they chose, the fonts, just the everything. It looks so beautiful and so professional. So Canva is awesome. Definitely pay the very, I think, investment, their monthly fee for their pro um subscription. I think it's
Mhm.
like 12.99 a month or 13 or
It's still
14.
12.99 a month. Well,
Yeah, something.
actually, I
Yeah,
think they're changing their pricing, but it's not like a lot
it's
more.
not
I think it's
expensive.
like still roughly the same. I mean, honestly, compared to how much you produce out of Canva, it is like pennies
Absolutely.
as to you having to hire somebody to design all this for you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. As far as workshops and courses, I've got a brand strategy workshop suggestion for you because many branding agencies and consultants will offer workshops to help businesses develop brand strategies. Take a look at Meetup and just look through there and see what in your area might be available to you. Or if you're in a networking group or do any kind of networking, just put it out there that you're looking for a workshop based on brands and branding and brand strategies. I bet you someone you know will know one to suggest to you. Other branding courses that you could look into that are online, like Skillshare, Udemy, and Coursera, they offer courses on many aspects of branding. That includes brand strategy, visual identity, and marketing, and also your SBDC, your local small business development center, might have for free or low cost workshops and resources on branding and marketing. I lean on the SBDC of Fairfax County quite often. There's also the Community Business Partnership here, which you should look into what other resources your county might have for small businesses. There might be others that they have. Definitely lean into those because they're generally run by people like us who are business owners or people who were the C-suite of their company that are volunteering their time or are presenting a workshop that you can get a lot of great information out of.
Love it.
Yeah. So please hit that like button and the follow buttons and tell all of your friends about us. Our show is on all of your preferred podcast platforms, social media, and YouTube. We'd love for you to share our episodes. If we have any links to share, we will put them below. And until next time, mind the business behind your business because all great successes start small.